Hello, my lovely friends, dear audiences. Welcome to the East West Show. Name is Jack with the G&E TV. Good morning, good lunch, good afternoon, good day, good whatever, good evening, depending on where you are, because this show is cross nation anyway, right? With me today is my good friend, Mr. Chris Shahinian. He is a politician, and he is the former candidate for California State Senate, and I believe that that you are still running, and I do trust that you deserve an office, right? So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jack.
How have you been lately?
Well, thank you. Number one, I want to thank you for this opportunity. I'm doing great. Recently, I traveled to Europe and Middle East. And I met a lot of people, and I can share later on and my experience with that trip. And of course, the good news is that the Dodgers continue to be hot as Southern California.
We won the 6th game.
Yes, I mean it was like awesome news for 3 decades.
Sure.
Dodger was losing and losing. Now, I think they make history. And yesterday was a great game. Temperature was 103 degrees, but fans will pack the Dodger Stadium.
The hottest game on the hottest day.
And we won the first one. So and today there's another game. Hopefully that will continue to become the world champion for the first time.
Very good. Dodger goes with the name of Los Angeles anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, except Dodger, what have you got this time?
Well, let me tell you my experience. When you travel outside United States, of course, we have a lot of issues, a lot of headline news in the United States. And the international community, they have also watching what's happening in the United States. My last 2 trips, I went to Lebanon, Armenia, Greece, and Rome. And everywhere I went, so I want to give you 2 examples. One of them, I was sitting in Greece. I was having a dinner with my friends. And my wife was with me then. And next to me there was a table, and they start asking me questions. I said, you speak English? Yes. Are you American? Yes. I said, aren't you worried about your president? And of course, as a politician, you have to respond properly. I don't want to trash my country. We respect our country, our history, rich of good people. And I give him nice answer. And last month I was in Armenia. I was sitting same with a group with my daughter, and next to me a group of Germans. And this time they were more angry. They were like, for me, about Americans. What is happening to America? And I felt that international community, Europeans, Middle Eastern, they all worry about what is happening
in the United States.
Because we know that America has influence around the world. We are the superpower now. Anything goes wrong in the United States, that's going to affect globally. So people are worried in the Middle East. People in Iran are worried. We have North Korea issue that's every day, that's escalating. Last week, our former president, Jimmy Carter, offered his service to Donald Trump so he can go and de-escalate the tension. Hopefully,
to negotiate.
Hopefully, we can use that wise man to de-escalate. Iranian issue is a big international issue. Donald Trump, our president, he refused to accept the terms, and of course Iranians are upset. And yesterday actually our Secretary of State make an announcement that Iran must pull out his troops from Iraq. And of course creating tension in Europe, tension in Asia, tension in Middle East. And outside our borders, our people are worried. The international community are worried about the future. And we are inside, we are worried also. We have a lot of issues. Yesterday, President went to Capitol Hill with his entourage. He has one message to his Republican Party and the Democrat, passed the tax bill. And he was insisting, he was forcing to people, to his colleagues, to pass that bill. Because a few months ago, he was so confident, Donald Trump, that he's going to pass appealing and replacing Obamacare. He was very confident.
Yes,
and he went to Capitol Hill again. But this time, what happened, he thought the president, our new president, he is in control. He is in charge of the country. Our system of government is totally different than any other country. We have balanced system. Our president is the executive order. He's not the king. He cannot make law. He cannot pass. He can propose law. He can work with his friends. And what happened a few months ago when the bill was on the Senate floor, it was tight, close. One senator, he dumped the whole thing, John McCain. And a reason why probably that could happen for Trump benefit if Trump has wisdom of winning people, as he always claimed that, you know, he is the man, has a great power negotiating, bringing people. What we see now is the opposite. And we are losing our friends outside our borders, and we are losing our way of working in the United States. And of course, that's issue, and we have DACA issue. That's another big issue that it's concerning us. And of course, DACA is that we call it for Deferred Action Plan. It's, if we don't know the history, we don't know what DACA mean, what that action mean, what Obama did, why he did, and why we need to support that action. If we don't look at the history, we can have no clue, or we can be divided as a country again, what we have to do for that almost 1 million young people. They are in colleges, in hospital, they are teachers, they are workers, they are universities. What we're going to do for those people? And our history is full of pride, if we look at it. And if we go back on first pilgrim, they came to the United States, to Plymouth. The first boat, 20 people they came. And since then, even after we became United States, after independence, 1776, actually 1790 that we have our Constitution, our founding fathers, for centuries, we had open border policies. Basically, United States, the new world was new for everybody. Italians came to United States. They brought their skills. They have their talent, their wisdom. Irish came to United States. They brought their skills. They brought their culture. British came. Dutch came. Everybody came to here because we had this open border policy. In 1776, the population, Jack, of the United States was less than 3 million. How could this small nation became so powerful? 3 million became 330 million now. Small nation, now they are from Atlantic to Pacific land. How could they become so strong? Do you think because we were a closed nation, closed border, because we push people back? No. Look what happened to our country. 1776, we had only 13 colonies, correct?
13, yes.
We had 1790, 1780, our first president, George Washington, became president. Our second president was Thomas Jefferson, 1800, exactly. And our president then, he was so smart, so wise, that he said, in order to make our country strong, in order to make America great, we need to expand our territory. We need to have open border policy. We need to encourage people to come. First thing he offered to French government, then Napoleon Bonaparte, offered to buy the big chunk of centered United States current, which is Kansas, all this state, with $2 million. We call it that Louisiana territory. He offered $2 million. Napoleon Bonaparte said no, because I want to build an empire. I want the United States to be part of my empire. He refused that offer. 2 years later, because of war between British and French, and Napoleon was losing his treasures, and then he was open to negotiate. Our president then again, Thomas Jefferson, I admire that man. He extended his hand. He knew what's happening. He said, this time I'm going to offer you $10 million against that big territory. Napoleon was desperate for money. He said, I'm going to accept that offer. On top of that, I'm going to give you New Louisiana, the entire state, with the port, with everything, with $15 million. The offer was accepted immediately. We bought 1 acre with 1 penny. Just imagine. Huge. We expand our territory. After Mexican War, we went all the way to Pacific, California, Oregon, Arizona. It all became. Okay. But now we have territory. What are we going to do? We're going to fill people to come. We have Nebraska Act. We have Kansas Act. We have Homestead Act.
To fill in the open land.
What we did. Do you think we closed the borders? No. We encourage people, come on to the New World. Come to United States. Come, we give you free land. We gave them, look at our history. Homestead Act. We gave for settlers 160-acre land. Every settler, 21 and older, if you had family, you can get 160-acre free to be your property, to nurses, for agriculture.
All right.
That was our policy. Okay. That was for centuries.
All right, very good. It is always good to look back into history to find answers that probably could open the lock of these days. Of today, with me today is my good friend, Mr. Chris Shahinian. He is a politician, is a former candidate for California Senate House. Well, let's take a very short moment now. When we come back, we have questions to raise. Stay with us, please. Hello, my dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show, Jack Chow on East West with the G&E TV. Today, the subject is to talk about American history. From history, probably we will find the answers or the keys to the answers of the nowadays questions. Okay, with my friend Chris Shahinian, who recalled quite a bit of American history from perspective of immigration and how we started this whole nation, though. I have questions.
Sure.
Okay, now. Back then, we had a total population of only 3 million. Now we have 330 million.
Correct.
And there's about 100 times increase.
Correct.
From back then till now. Okay, now. Back then, we have open land, lots of open land. Even during the land rush, without having to offer 16 acres, anybody on horseback could drive a day distance and go around, and that is your land. That claims your land, and put a sign there, that's your land, and it goes by your name. I regretted that my grandfather didn't do that. Otherwise, I will be rich, right? Something like that.
Me too, maybe.
Now the question is, time has changed. Situation, the environment has changed, right? Back then, the guns are kind of a single shot with gunpowder. You do this, boom, like that. Now you have machine guns. Back then, you do not have terrorists. now that you have terrorists, almost every single day, there's something blowing up. Now, well, it calls for some change.
Sure.
Do you think what we have now is in accordance with history and in accordance with time, with our current situation, please?
Let me go back again, history.
Uh-huh.
For centuries, we had this policy to welcome people to our border.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to history, in order to become to the United States, all you have to do, jump in a ship, pay a fee, you come to the United States, you
And
become,
then you're
and
one.
then you
Yeah.
are one.
Mm-hmm.
And then later, that changed. We had Paris Island, where became the center, and every immigrant should come there, and then so we can have, documents who they are. And there was 29 questions.
Mm-hmm.
Your name, your ancestor, you pay the ticket, and then you get in.
Mm-hmm.
So again, 12 million people, they came to Ellis Island from Italy, from Russia, from
In California, there is an Angel Island, right? That island was typically for that purpose, to go answer the 29 questions before you became a United States citizen.
True.
Am I right?
Yes. So
Okay.
what I'm telling you that, and those decisions was made based on principle, not based on politics. Let me repeat it. Our ancestors, our leaders, they make this based on principle and humanity, not based on politics. And when we mix politics, we always fail. And this exactly happened 1970, 100 years ago, in 1917. After World War I, Europe was entirely in a mess. The whole world was a mess. Our Congress passed an Immigration Act to close our borders. Then was our President Wilson, one of my favorite presidents, smart, very humanitarian president. He vetoed the Congress. He said, we cannot close our border. He said, we cannot do that. This is an unhuman thing for Americans to do. This is against our value. This is what President Wilson said then.
Okay.
And Congress vetoes President Wilson by passing 2/3, and that law passed. We closed our borders, and then, back then, there was fear
that was shortly about 20-something years after the Chinese Exclusion Act.
That's I'm going to come for that.
Yeah, they came in a series.
1882. I want to go back. And what I'm saying that people then, the politicians, they start making the rumors that Russians, communists. Then there was a communist time. They were to come to the United States. They're going to change our value, and they start politicizing. And we shifted from principle to politics. Then we closed our borders. And who suffered? Then a lot of people, they turned back. And the same time was Armenian genocide was happening, where my grandparents, grandfathers, and many Armenians, they jumped to the ship to find the refuge. They went to missionaries camp so they can save them from Turk genocide. By the way, 1.5 million Armenians died from that genocide in 1915. And including my grandmother. She lost her children. She lost 2 of her children. Her entire family. She survived by walking all the way to Lebanon.
Oh, I see.
And that's another story. And many people suffer from that genocide. And a lot of people, they want to come to America, the new world, so we can, save from that genocide. But because of that policy, they turned back. You know what happened?
What?
They died. They crucified because of closed door policy. That was the dark chapter in our policy. 1882, same thing. Chinese Act when.
But it was 1882 first.
First, yes.
Then 1917 later.
Correct.
Right.
It started from 1882.
They are about 22 years apart. 20-something, 25 years apart. So they came in my way of analysis. They came in a series of the closing door policies, right? In which they, number one, reject who are inside already. Number two, they will refuse to take newcomers, something like that, right? From then on, there started the Japanese camp,
Yes.
right? Which is later on. You go ahead, please.
This is what I'm saying. For centuries, we kept our history, pride history. Some of the small chapters, you see, we look back, wow, shameful chapter. And all of them, if you look, why? Because there's a politics involved, not principle, not values. That's what I'm trying to say now. And 1882, there was Chinese, they came here, they was building California then, Oregon, they built our nation. And because of the politics again, they closed that door, and it's a shameful act. As you mentioned, after Pearl Harbor, immediately we just closed the border, and then we put all this Japanese immigrant to campus. Those are the dark chapters. 1917 again. The question is, do we want another dark chapter in our history? Or we can look at the history and say, no, we want our follow what our founding fathers, they put a foundation and to do the right thing in 2017. That's the big question now. DACA it's going to becomes a poison pill for us. If we politicize this again, it's going to be another dark chapter. What is DACA? We're not talking about millions of people, it's 900,000 young people. And many of them today, they are in colleges, by the way. They are in hospital working, they are in cities, they're nurses, they're teachers. And our president came on September, said that he will end President Obama Deferred Action on Childhood Arrival Program. And what happened? And it created this fear in our nation. What's going to happen next?
Okay.
The same fear that have outside the international community, now we have inside the fear. What is going to happen? What is happening to the United States? You came to the United States because of to have life, free country, to your freedom. Pilgrims, they came here, they can practice their faith. Some people, they can have a business, trade. What happened to America? And what is happening now with our president? And many people are questioning his ability, questioning his decision. Many leaders internationally, they are afraid. They are afraid that our president can do something stupid and start World War III.
All right. Okay. Let's take that as analysis, which some way somehow make lots of sense, because at least you want to make sure that you look back into history from every now and then to see what had happened and what shall happen, and to be a guideline for future. With me today is my good friend, Mr. Chris Shahinian. He is a politician. He was a former candidate for California State House office of Senate. So let's take a very short moment now. When we come back, we'll still want to find out from time change point of view, see what is necessarily to be done, what is not, what is overreacting, what is not. And speaking to our President Donald Trump, well, is he the right one for the President of United States, or he's only the right one for the time point? Okay, stay with us, please. Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show. Jack Chow on East West with G&E TV. My friend, Chris Shahinian, had made quite a few analyses about our history, from which we found that we came along with an open door policy, and there were times we closed doors. Now, as long as you call it a door,
Or borders.
or border or whatever, it can be closed, it can be open. That's why you call it doors. Or unless you put them on walls, right? Oh, by the way, there is going to be a wall anyway, right now. At the time we close, at times we open, different times. It is time that calls for, right?
Correct.
Okay, now, we are, like I said just now, I mentioned at the beginning of the second segment, we are at a totally different time from what we founded the nation with. When we founded the nation, we did not have this much problems like we have now. Now, look at Europe. Look at Germany, for example. They took about 3% of their population of refugees, right? And they started now to have problems. Now we have the same thing. We're facing the same thing. Donald Trump is losing up his restriction for the 120 days to stop those 5 countries coming in. However, he put some more restrictions
Venting.
to it.
Yeah.
Right? So my question is, forget everything but remember history, right? In history, there are times we want to open, there are times we want to close. Is it a time to close right now?
Let me tell you those, if we're talking about number one, DACA applicant, some argue that those applicants came from terrorist countries and anti-Americans, and they become terrorists. And that argument has no base, because those applicants came from 149 countries, and not only Mexicans. There are few hundred, maybe less than 100 from Iran, which we think, terrorists, and few hundred from here and there. And the idea of turning those back, it's not because we're afraid that those kids, they came 4 years, 5 years, they're going to become terrorists. There's a politics involved, Jack. It's not pure about making America great. I wish that was the idea of making America great. We could have done a lot of things, and we still could do a lot of things to make America great, but not sending like 1 million young people outside our border. But coming to what your question is.
I'm sorry for that. We want to clarify ourselves that we're not confusing these two issues.
Yes.
The number one issue, when you talk about closing doors or open doors, or when you talk about closing border or open borders, you're talking about to the incoming immigration, to the influx, right?
True.
No. Okay, when you talk about DACA, you're not talking about doors or borders. You're talking about the insiders.
Yes.
They are here already, right? If the former, if the former is a human issue, and this latter is even more a human issue, that's the way I look at it. So we want to separate that from border issue.
Exactly. That's what I'm going to come to 1917, when my ancestors, they were rejected to come to the United States. What happened? They went back, they suffered, and we lost opportunities. Just imagine Einstein was not, we closed the border for our Einstein. He became US citizen. Henry Kissinger, he was an immigrant. And from this current immigrant they're coming now, back then Germany and other nations, if we think that, if we close the borders and we're gonna be safer, we are wrong. We are wrong. And terrorist ideology, it's something new that's coming. But the fear of have centuries, fear. We fear from Vietnamese, we fear from communists, we fear from Russian Empire, we fear from Ottoman Empire. And by the way, European example that you gave, Jack, that goes back to centuries when the Arab was in half of the Europe. There was Arab, there's a Muslim there. During Ottoman Empire, until all the Slovakian nations, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, was under Muslim influence. So that's Europe, Spain, Portugal. That was Muslim nation back then until the Arab. They have that mixed Arab and Muslim culture. But recently that changed because European nation, they want more labor. They open their door. What is happening now that Donald Trump closing some of the doors for some of the nation? I wish that was because of the protecting our nation. Let me tell you why. Because Saudi Arabia is not on that list. Saudi Arabia is the main distributor for terrorists and financially and ideologically. It's all terrorist ideology get from Mecca, from Wahhabis ideology, which is the main problem of the terrorists, main problem of the global terrorists. They are the home of building terrorists. Mecca and Wahhabis ideology, and our borders are open for them. How come? That's what I'm saying. This is pure politics.
That exactly in time, regardless of the politics or not, one is always good to protect your own house, right?
True.
Okay. If you decide the environment is safe, you want to open your door. If you decided the environment is not safe, you close the doors. To open, to close, that's another issue. Like I just said, right? That's another issue. I am talking about the DACA kids. They are already here. The 850 something thousand of young people. So what are they? What are we going to do with them? Is totally different from the walls, the door open, the door close issue. Totally nothing. So what's your take that what we should do with DACA?
Paul Ryan, 2 days ago, House Speaker Paul Ryan said, you know what, DACA is going to be in our budget plan, and the idea of sending those kids back, it's unacceptable. Nancy Pelosi, Democratic Party, said there's no way we can allow these kids to send back. And Donald Trump, during his negotiation with Schumer, he said that, put in a budget, build in the wall, and I work with you on DACA. That becomes politics again. And two-thirds of Americans, they are against sending those kids back, two-thirds. So what our president is going to do, he's going to go against the will of people and send those kids back to their country, or he can listen once that people of the United States, we have values, we have principles, we look to our history, we take action based on the history.
At this time, they are even not looking at the traditions or the of culture, because when they decided to kick them out, though, they are really changing their mind. Now look at the fact that Donald Trump has even exchanged a list of exchange. I mean, a list of something close to 70 checkpoints for the exchange of DACA. Is that humane?
Well, let me tell you, there's a lot of ideas floating in the Senate, Florida. Graham proposed something. 2 days ago, another 2 senators proposed another. And the idea they're floating is, if those kids, next 5 years, join the military, they graduate from college, they have good behavior, protect their status, they have a job, and they put all kind of burden on them. If they can do that, we consider them to stay. And ideas are flowing in the Senate floor, and of course, people, the kids that they are listening to the news, they are I think they're losing their mind because they don't know what to do. They don't know what they happen. Some of them, they have kids. Some of them, they have kids. They have 1 year, 2-year-old. What are we going to do? We're going to live. They are citizens. We're going to live the kids here, 1 to 2-year-old, and take their parents out. I mean, this is America is about.
Yeah.
This is what we are
That's
for?
one of the cases my friend Alan Diamante, attorney at law, defended. He, of course, successfully defended the father who was on the way to deliver daughter to school, got captured by ICE and was put on a list of deportation and in the confinement of deportation. So he was released because the attorney won the case. Lucky him. See, if he didn't win the case, he would be on the road to go back to Mexico. So the kids are left over. I am talking about to keep the kids here under the DACA program, between keeping them here regardless, unconditionally, as one take, or take as a Donald Trump where he stands, say, let's do an exchange, let's do a trade-in, right? I give you my old car, you give me a new car, something like that, right? So what kind of concept do these ideas represent?
I think we need to do the right thing at this point, and our government did the right thing. California government, he protected, we passed a resolution, and last week we had the Democratic Party, Los Angeles County Democratic Party leadership group. We passed another resolution there to protect DACA applicants. I think it's going to be on our platform, 2018 election platform. Democrat, we're going to protect, we're going to have a platform protecting DACA. It's going to be strong statement. And I think every decent leader that they love our country.
Is Donald Trump still insisting on the exchange of his list?
Donald Trump is insisting to make point, insisting to score a point. He wants to score a point. He was so desperate after what happened for Obamacare when he lost. He's so angry that he wants to score point. Yesterday, his message was, clear. I want this bill to pass because that's my legacy. Now, Donald Trump understood that in order for him to pass any legislation, he cannot pass it with 50% majority. He needs 60 Senate to pass that. That's what is happening behind the scene. 2018 election. Donald Trump
and the poor
wants...
guy has his own Republican handle because from among them, he cannot get a majority. So that's his problem.
That's number one. And then he's trying to gain another 8 senators so he can have super majority so he can avoid the filibuster so he can have, have more power to go. But senators after senators from Republican Party, they're turning back on Trump. Why? Because of his action, because of what he's doing for our, what he did last week for 4 people die in Nigeria, the way he handled those stuff. I think our president sometimes becomes embarrassing for us, and I have a hard time to explain my kids why is this happening. And I had the same hard time to explain my friend in Europe that, and I told him, this is our democracy. We talk about this 4 years from now. We have system that, we cannot tolerate this kind of president. I think next election is going to be very, very clear who's going to be the president. George Bush father senior said, Donald Trump, he might be our last Republican president if we don't fix our steps. DACA is one of them. They need to come up, step forward. Bush family, if they want to be president, they have to step forward. They have to be clear that, this is not American way to send those kids back.
Or there's still negotiation going on between the DACA people, namely between Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Donald Trump about the exchange of the 70 items. Only we do not know. Only we don't hear anything yet. So could that be the case?
I think there's a lot of discussion behind door. Donald Trump is insisting he wants to build that wall. He wants the money to be in a budget. That's his condition. If you give me that money to build the wall so he can have score a point, because he has no point yet for the months. So he wants to score a point.
Yeah.
He's making all kind of deal, but he's not succeeding. He's not succeeding.
Forget the wall. Even Donald Trump, he himself, is ready to agree that the wall is just a token word. Could be somewhere some fences, somewhere even a virtual wall. You have a laser beam somewhere like that, and that is a wall too. So that kind of thing. Now, I'm talking about the exchange with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. Well, Donald Trump holds a list of the 70 items long for the exchange of letting DACA go. So my whole point is that suppose they never reach agreement. Suppose the 70 of checking list never been satisfied. Will DACA kids stay?
This is what I believe. Number one, 2018 is going to be crucial for election. Donald Trump will lose a few more senates, and Democrats are going to gain strength, and DACA will stay. I guarantee you, the kids, you guys are going to stay here. I guarantee you, no one was going to kick you out. And 2018, it's crucial election. Let's vote for right people. Let's vote for people that are going to represent our values, and that's going to be turning point. It should be on that list, one item in that Donald Trump. One item should be, and that should be give the kids hope to stay in the United States. That should be one item, no more. That all the items they're putting, it's all political to score point. That's shame for us, shame our government, and we don't want another shameful chapter in our history like 1882, 1917. We want our leaders to make a decent decision, wise decision, like we have done for centuries about immigrant and about open border policy.
In other words, it is very hopeful now that the DACA program will go untouched. Those kids are safe to stay here, right? But they are scared. They are so frightened to death because they can't, right now, even though their document is outdated, they even dare to walk out to renew their status.
True, and they have now immigration they have all the information about them, everything they have. They can pick them one by one if they want. But that's what the California stood on his ground, said, no, you cannot do. Federal government's not allowed to get knock-on-door kids. And I think our police officers, they are cooperating with the governor, and I think that's creating a shift in policy. And I don't want to see California and other South Carolina when they,
Well, the white supremacists.
Yeah, and we don't want California to walk out of state. And what is happening now, it's pushing California to make that kind of step. I'm sure that's not going to happen, but there's a talk among the California that we need to split from California exit from the United States. That's not going to happen. And I want to say for the kids, I think for now you have the right to worry. So because every day there's another news, but hold on to your seats. I think that's you're going to stay here. We're going to do everything we can. I'm a Democrat. I'm a chairman of Los Angeles County Armenian Democratic Party. We're doing everything to protect our kids. We passed a resolution in our platform. It's going to be about DACA. We've been condemn what's happening now, and I believe wise leaders, they're going to step up and they're going to stop this madness.
Oh, very good. I like that assurance. With me, my friend Chris Shahinian had lots of assurance that he provided, that he firmly believes that the DACA kid will stay. There's no danger of getting them out because they can never get a majority to vote on that. Okay, let's take a short moment now. When we come back, we want to put everything together to give ourselves a guideline how are we going to hold the issue of immigration to make our judgment that if we are represented by President Donald Trump? Other than that, if he goes south, if it goes other ways than his constituents wanted him, of course, speaking of his constituents, we have to talk about his supporters. His supporters are so strong too. So let's take a very short moment now. When we come back, we'll find out the answers, at least for the Americans who are here, who arrived as a child, who belong to the DACA program. Stay with us, please. Hello, dear friends, lovely audience, welcome back to the show. The East-West discussion today on the subject of the DACA versus American policies for the United States. We go back, which tracks us back all the way to history, starting from the moment that we founded this nation, our forefathers founded this nation, all the way to 1882, when the Chinese Exclusion Act was imposed to law, and later in 1917, when further we tightened our border, and then when later during the war after Pearl Harbor, we built up those Japanese camps, so on and so forth. We've been tightening, we've been losing, tightening, losing, and it kind of like flip-flop in history on the immigration issue. Now, obviously, we're tightening now. My question to my friend Chris Nibby was that because, or is that because time? Because we are at a different time. So this is time called for. Our time calls for us to be more restrict on the immigration, which I support. I don't support to kick those DACA kids out of the United States, because that's inhumane to do so.
True.
And I do support to have more restrictions on further incomers. So, do you think you agree with me?
Let me tell you what I agree.
To what extent?
I agree that venting is very important to know who is coming to our borders, who is coming to immigrant. And I think we have good policy. And we do have venting visa policy now. It used to be DACA, quota, and then now we switch to visa. Before you apply, I know people when they apply to visa, for instance, Lebanon or Armenia, you go to interview, they interview you, they look at your document, they look who you are, where you work, where you have been, where you born.
Oh, yes,
we had that. It's not just like, just like used to be 1700. You get your ticket, you come in. It's not that way anymore. We do have venting.
Instead of 29 questions, the question might be 290.
Yes, we do have. And on top of that, I know for fact, if someone apply for visa in Lebanon, Lebanese, they go after him. They look if he's working there, because a lot of people, they apply for visa, and from embassy, they went there. They ask him where they're working. Are you there? He's working there. Are you there? Where is that so-and-so? And if you don't, they don't find it, they reject it. So we do have that. And
they are not making decisions at the window.
No.
They go after him,
of course,
to where he is from,
and
like a family or workplace or whatsoever.
Yes.
To find for sure this is the actual person.
I know that for fact. I'm telling you, I know that for fact.
That's
good.
That's good.
Of course, that's good.
That's good.
Of course, we don't want the thief to come. We don't want someone to say, I'm a doctor, but he's working in a mechanic shop.
Of course.
That's, I think, as a nation, it's our right to do
They
that.
are doing now?
They've been doing that. They are doing that
Since
before
when?
Donald Trump.
Since when?
I know this like 1970s, 80s, they were doing that. So it's not new, but they don't talk about that. And it's not Donald Trump is coming all of a sudden, they won't. No, we have that system. But how much, maybe like percentage-wise, they pick, 1 from 100, so they can do more. That's our right.
You're saying that even before Obama time,
Yes.
they started that already.
Yes, of course. So,
Oh, I
but
see.
I don't know about other nations. Maybe we should do that in every nation that we
That
think.
doesn't reject the fact that we scarcely do so. We handpick or randomly handpick somebody to go behind. On the contrary, I mean, most of the visas get granted at the counter. Now we're doing more,
Yes.
right?
I think
Which makes lots of
Yeah,
sense.
for Western European, I think it's you don't need visa. We have, we don't need to visa. But some of the nations we have a visa restriction, and it's that change from administration to administration. Lebanon was during civil war. There are a lot of people coming to Lebanon. Then they have this policy. I think we should adopt policy for each based on their situation. But closed border policy, that's not American way. That's what I'm saying. We should do venting. Yes, we don't want terrorists to come to the United States. I am against any terrorist ideology to come. But, Jack, a lot of Saudis are here. A lot of Wahhabis are here.
I know,
a lot of them are here. We open for them. They come spend millions of dollars here.
Yeah, sure.
So,
I mean, in practice, in the day-to-day, details, how can you prevent those terrorists to come land in this country?
number one,
Because they don't have a label here, right? On the forehead.
number one, we know where the terror is coming, and sometimes we are behind them also. What happened to ISIS? ISIS was fed by U.S. intelligence. It's there. The news are there. So we know that. So we know that, we encourage them to fight because we needed that terror. So, and we know their sources. American, we know where they are. If look at where the money is coming, follow the money, we know where they are. So, and it's not mystery. But again, this is politics. Politics sometimes in the media you hear something different than what's behind the scene. All this terrorists happen in that area, creating ISIS was our U.S. foreign policy.
Or if you escalate your vision, though, take an even grander view, this is the overall operation that has been there all the time, ever since time started. Because back then, I recall that even Bin Laden, the Bin Laden family, was a close friend of George Bush.
Yes.
I mean, Bush 41. Okay, the Bush family anyway. Right?
Because oil and Saudi Arabia, we had with King Abdul Aziz, 1945, our president, not Wilson, it was President Roosevelt went to Egypt. He made a deal on the ship with the Saudis that we protect you and you give us oil. So that was the deal. That's what we have the relationship between Saudi. And that's that we have to understand history. We make that deal 1945 with Saudis that we're going to protect your kingdom, we're going to protect your royal family, and in return you're going to give us oil.
Yeah, of course. At a certain time, you may find our borders more closed or more open. On the overall, it is always tightening up, losing up, tightening up, losing up, and in between, either CIA or the government making deals with all the rest of the world.
Yeah,
right?
and that's true. That's our
all right, that makes
foreign policy.
Makes it fair.
That's our foreign policy, and we have no influence on that because they make their own decision based on the president, and sometimes against the president will, honestly. But that's the way it is. But for now, I think we need our kids. They need insurance. Kids have 500,000 in California. We're going to do everything we can to protect you and your family to stay in your home. That has been our policy for centuries. We're going to keep that tradition that respecting families, respecting immigrants. So this nation became great nation because of that. open door policy that we have?
It was yesterday, I heard over the news that they are working on exchange programs to make sure that the DACA kids are picked for the best ones. Because, you know, even with the 800,000 young people, there are good ones, there are bad ones, right? There are even some who acted, criminally.
Let me say that.
All right.
I mean, this is basically pouring water on this idea that, you know, there is gangster on this group, there are criminals. You're talking 1 million kids. Of course, some of them they're going to join. Of course, they're not saint. They're not in a churches. They are regular kids. Sometimes in regular kids, some of them they go to gangs. Some of them they involve in criminal. But what is a criminal? Is criminal someone, you know, steals something different than someone kills somebody is different? Because we have to distinguish what the criminal is. In the United States, crime is if you don't properly take care of a lawn, you get citation and you become criminal. A law. This is like, is that we consider that we can send this kid back because, you know, he wasn't able to do his lawn?
Of course, in that case, we will make a clear distinction, our definition about what is the criminality for them. Okay, all my concern, all my major concern, all even the Americans, average American concern is that under DACA program, they deserve to stay.
Yes.
However, as human being, almost 1 million of them, you're talking about there are bad apples, right? Handpick the bad apples. As how you want to handpick bad apples, that comes to your tactics.
I think, Jack, we should be very clear. If you violate, you know, our constitution, you violate the law, and you become criminal, we deport you right away. I think we should do for every legal and illegal criminal. We should do that. No, because we don't want criminal. This is not.
And they're talking about 11 million of altogether. Those undocumented. Do the same thing.
I think we should do the same thing. And for those 11 million, this is what we can do. Instead of sending them 11 million, it's not going to happen. By the way, no matter how many president promises it, it's not going to happen. What we can do for those 10 millions, for the criminals that we know where they are, pick them, put our resources to get them, deport them right away. That's number one. And for those 11 million, I think we can, if we have good leaders now, which I think I'm encouraging a lot of people to come out. We can do what we can do for them. Come on and register, like we did for DACA. Register, you pay $5,000 penalty for your illegal entry, $5,000.
All right.
And then just add that 5,000 times 11 million. Do you know what that? That can build our nation again. That's money that could build our school.
That probably is the money that Donald Trump wants for the wall.
We don't want war.
We're going back to Donald Trump says, where's my money?
Even from that money, we can give some 5-6 million to build that, you know, security. But 11 million just math 5,000 times this, and we give it like, and that becomes economically that lot of money that support our public school, our transportation, a lot of things in our nation.
Sure. All right. My dear audience, that's a lot of solutions to the big headache of right now. It looks that we have two big headaches. Number one, we have the DACA kids who are so far as much as we smell is going to stay. And number two, we have the 11 undocumented who, if offered a chance with certain fines, could all walk out of the dark, be part of a labor force. On the other hand, you're talking about government revenue, right? Sure. With that revenue, if Donald Trump asks for money, we may let him have a portion. But anyway, the problem is resolved, right? Good. We owe this whole thing to the wisdom of my friend, Mr. Shahidian. Mr. Shahidian, a former candidate for California Senate House, and I wish that he will still run. And well, we're a little over time, but we're okay. My dear audience, thank you very much for watching. And to Chris,
thank you, Jack.
Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you for this
And
opportunity.
especially thank you for your devices.
I'm
right?
honored to be here again.
Okay, good.